ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this lovely evening. And I know it doesn't look that lovely, but in Scotland this is lovely, so we're just gonna enjoy while we can. And in today's video I'm finally feeling ready to make a proper review of the Laowa 15mm f2 super wide rectilinear 0D lens for Sony E-mount, full frame E-mount. I've taken it to many different places. I've shot videos, pretty much all my videos on my YouTube channel where I sit home and just talk to you. I shot on this lens that I have on my camera right now. I've done even portraits, group shots, I've done astro, I've done time-lapse, I've done landscape, I've done pretty much anything you can come up with, cityscape and all that good stuff with this lens. So I finally feel certified to go and tell you all if it's any good. So this is the review, real life review of Laowa by Venus Optics 15mm f2 for Sony E-mount full frame cameras. Let's get into it. Right, before we get into the fun stuff with all the photos and videos and all that good example, we need to get through some of the boring stuff, which is all the numbers and letters and pricings and millimeters and all that good stuff. Just before anybody gets too excited, this is a fully manual lens, 15mm f2. Has fully manual aperture, which you can switch to clicky or declicky, which probably is a more interesting topic for the filmmakers because you can get this smooth aperture. And the focus is fully manual as well, so it's solid build from metal. You get the metal mount as well, so it's very solid build quality. The rings are nice and smooth, and it does not have any kind of rubber gaskets for weather sealing or anything like that. This lens is constructed from 12 optical elements in 9 different groups, 2 aspherical elements and 3 extra low dispersion elements, whatever that means. It has 7 aperture blades, and 15mm on full frame is going to give you 110 degrees field of view with 72mm filter thread, which is awesome because the front element doesn't actually protrude enough, so you can actually use normal screw-on filters. As Laowa likes to say, this is the widest rectilinear lens you can get for Sony E-mount full frame cameras. Well, we can only believe them. Not that I know anything wider than that, which would still be rectilinear, but oh well, I guess it is then. And all this beautiness comes in the price of roughly $850 US. Sadly, 850 pounds UK, or if you want to buy it straight from Laowa website, it's gonna cost you around 900 quid. Youch. So obviously here in YouTube, the first obvious thing when you're spending such kind of money for a lens is it good for vlogging? And you know, being a manual lens, if you can tame your focus, you know, like I know if I focus at 0.5 of a meter and I just casually walk like this, and I know that I always hold my camera like this, although I haven't been vlogging too much in the last half a year or so. I know I'm gonna be in focus, I know it's not gonna change, And I know that I'm still gonna have this really nice bokeh in the background. That's something really unusual for like super ultra wide lenses. This thing has maximum aperture of f2, which even for such a wide lens, it still gives you this sort of background separation from your subject. And it looks absolutely lovely. Even if you're shooting your YouTube videos at home and the room is not too big, you're still gonna have these, like if you have some nice lights in the background, you're still gonna have like really nice like bokeh balls and stuff like that. So that's really nice about this lens. The thing that I need to mention you, I've been walking for this little bit that I've been telling you about vlogging, and I have to change my hand. And I'm using Sony A7Riii, which is not particularly heavy. My selfie stick is not particularly heavy, and the microphone is really light as well. However, the lens is 500 grams or 1.1 pounds, so I mean half a kilogram is a bit towards the hefty end. Preferably you would want something slightly lighter than this. Right, everybody probably is really keen to know how this lens performs when you're taking images. So, a very unorthodox way to use this lens would be for portrait. I have this weird, odd sensation when I make a portrait using a 15mm lens and I'm still able to blow out the background at f2. Like, I just like how it looks like. And the things that you want to be aware of or careful about is that 15mm is an odd focal length for portrait, so it kind of distorts your head and your face if you get too close, obviously, or you know, if you're like inside of the frames. I'll give you an example of that as well. So if that's something that you're not quite used to, it's not going to be the most natural look that you could get. For example, 85mm would look so much natural than this. But if this is the look that you're going for, definitely don't be afraid. This is really cool way of making portraits. At least that's what I think. So the thing that you want to be careful, I'm gonna come closer a bit and I'm gonna focus. Where's the focus? I'm gonna focus. Where's the? Alright, I'm gonna focus this way. I don't actually know if I'm in the focus, obviously, because I don't have the screen. Thank you, Sony. And I'm just gonna move around from edge to edge so you can see how the distortion gets worse towards the edges of the frame. So that's where you want to be careful. You don't want to place your subject, you don't want to place any people on the side of the frame or anything that you know the shape of, or a car or a building. It's all going to be stretched. If you're doing a group photo, make sure people are more towards the middle, because people on the sides are going to be, they're just going to look fat, they're just going to look stretched, so nobody really wants that. A massive flock of birds. More typical use for this lens would probably be landscape. It's absolutely amazing. You crank up your aperture to about f11, you get everything nice and sharp, and you get all this 110 degrees field of view, which is absolutely lovely for landscape. And in landscape you get forests and trees and rocks and stuff like that, and it doesn't really matter if there is slight distortion towards the edges. Talking about this distortion, Laowa says that this is 0D. Obviously it's not zero distortion, but it's the closest you can get physically for 15mm on full frame. Like any other lens, it's going to be roughly around 15, 16, 14 or 12mm on full frame. Like I've seen some of the examples, like distortion is absolutely insane. Just recently I took this lens out in Madeira, the island that is owned by Portugal in Atlantic Ocean, and I was testing it out properly for like the nightscape, and I did some star photos, and I did some long exposures, and I did a time-lapse and all that good stuff. And the thing I can say, you probably know if you have a manual lens yourself, that when you turn it all the way to infinity, it kind of over-focuses the infinity somehow. So if you really want to focus on infinity, you want to go all the way and a little bit back, and that's where it's actually gonna be sharp. As well as last year, I took this, well last year, yeah I guess it's January. Last year I took this to Latvia as well, and I managed to get some really nice Milky Way photos that I was really happy with. So for astrophotography, in terms of like as a full landscape, not like nebulous and stuff, but like for stars and star trails, I've done those as well. Milky Ways, in combination with a body that can withstand rather high ISOs on full frame. This lens is going to be pretty good, especially if you live in location where you don't really have too much light pollution, then you're in. for the business. Probably another thing that some of you is worried about is chromatic aberration. I haven't really had any issues with that. Maybe the situations I take photos doesn't really represent the chromatic aberration that well. However, I've really not had any issues. I don't think I can clearly remember seeing, oh, there's chromatic aberration there. No, I really can't think of any photo I took that it will be plainly obvious. Another thing is flaring, lens flaring and all that stuff. I've taken this lens out on the streets of Edinburgh, like when it's dark outside and you have traffic lights and you got car lights and all that stuff. In Madeira as well, there was a big sun, you know, it's nice and warm there. The weather's much better than here. I would rather be there. And I really didn't have much of issues with lens flares as well. So it's time for verdict. What are my feelings about this lens? So this was one of the two first lenses I bought on my Sony system just when I switched, and no, I do not recommend this being one of the first lenses you buy unless like landscape and YouTube vlogging is the thing you do, because obviously I bought the 50 and I bought 15. I couldn't do YouTube with 50, like there's no way I'm gonna vlog with 50, right? So therefore I went for this. I really like to do Milky Ways and landscape, therefore I went for this. So I have my reasoning. If you do have your reasoning, yes, cool. If you're growing as a Sony shooter and you're looking for your first or second lens, then probably you would go for like 50 or 24 to 70, something more versatile. Compared to the market, I've literally just Googled stuff, so whatever Google is gonna tell me, that's what I'm gonna tell you. So this is around 850 pounds, as I said, 850 US as well. These numbers are gonna be in pounds, so I'm sorry, America. Competition wise, Sony FE 12 to 24 if you're looking for something similar like this with autofocus and auto aperture. Obviously you can change it with 14, almost 1500 quid. That's a bit more expensive. 12 to 24, and although that's f4, this is f2. 12 to 24 Sigma Art lens f2.8 comes in at around 1200 quid as well. Again, that's autofocus, and you know you can control aperture from your camera as well. So that's the trade-off. If you want a super wide full frame lens, either it's manual with f2 or it's going to be considerably more expensive with autofocus. However, as far as I can see here, you can get 2.8s or f4s. If you buy Sigma, you can get 2.8. If you buy Sony, you can get f4. So again, this is even brighter than 2.8. There's not much of a difference. If autofocus is something must for you, yes, obviously there's no brainer, you're not even gonna look at this lens. But if you're more towards the budget side and like, you know, landscape and vlogging and YouTube sit down videos is something that you want to do, yeah, feel free. I'm gonna say that I will film B-roll with this lens so you can see how B-roll looks in shallow depth of field. I haven't done it yet, so if you don't see it anywhere in the video, I never did, but I'm gonna do it, fingers crossed. And yeah, if you have any questions about this lens whatsoever, make sure you comment down below. I didn't find the nearest focusing distance anywhere online, so well, I guess I'm just gonna make a picture with like really close focus. So yeah, really don't know how close it is. If you know, let me know down in comments. Yeah, thank you very much for watching. Liking would really help, and I would appreciate that if you could like this video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. You can check around for more of some of my videos, and I will see you guys in the next one. Bye bye. Peace.